All right, welcome to It Takes a Family, a podcast that helps take parenting from desperation to hope. I'm one of your hosts, Andy.
And I'm your co-host, Kelly. Once a week, we'll highlight experts and other parents like you who have been in the trenches of parenting, bringing hard lessons learned and insights on how to navigate even the most difficult of family circumstances.
And we have been kind of walking through the Eagle Ranch approach to whole family healing. And so we've talked about kind of these different elements of that. And today we are talking in particular about your child's unique gifts. And so how do we sort of connect with our child in such a way that we draw out of them the gifts that they have, not that we want them to have, but that they truly have and that God's given them. And we've got a couple of really fun folks with us here today. Dr. H over Dr. Fred Haselden, we call him Dr. H around here, and Jennifer Smith. And so Kelly will give you a little bit of their background.
Yeah. So you guys don't look nearly old enough to have all these letters and accolades after your name. So Jennifer's been at the ranch for 10 years. Today she is our day program counselor. She's also a licensed professional counselor and received her undergrad in early education. So I think you're exactly right where you're supposed to be. And she also has her master's in marriage and family therapy. So thank you for being here, Jennifer.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And then we have Dr. Fred. Fred's our director of education. He's been here 5 years. And Fred has his undergraduate in counseling. So that's
in psychology, to be specific.
Excuse me, and psychology. So we're super glad you guys are sort of the heartbeat over at the school with all the other awesome people over there. So we're looking forward to having this conversation today.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, so we always like to start in kind of the same spot. Tell us about the family you grew up in and the family you lead now. Kind of help frame that for us a little bit.
Right. Ladies first.
Okay. So the family I grew up in, I have a half sister on my dad's side. She is about 17 years older than me.
Wow.
And then from my mom and dad, I'm the middle of three, so older brother and younger sister. So I'm kind of that, lost child peacemaker role. My parents are still married. So that's my family of origin. And then now I'm married to Nathan we've been married 11 years now. We have 2 girls. Addie Beth and Ella Ray, and they're the sweetest ever.
True.
Awesome.
All right. For me, the family I grew up in, I like to describe it as a tale of 2 stories, kind of, because until I was in high school, my parents were married. They were together. My parents have an interesting story because they eloped when they got married. And after their elopement, my dad brought my mom back home, and she lived there for 3 months before she told her parents she was actually married. Basically, this is a story that starts out with lies and blind triangles. Anyway, they finally came out with the marriage because my dad was being stationed in Rhode Island, and they needed to move. And so eventually my sister and I came along. My sister is older than I am. My parents did raise us in a Christian home. However, conflict came into their marriage, and they did divorce when I was in high school. So that's the other side of the story. So then I grew up I was already grown up. Went into adulthood with parents being separated and divorced. However, what's interesting, though, is that after their divorce, probably a year later, they actually became really good friends. And such good friends that my friends in college didn't believe they were even divorced. And then when my dad eventually remarried, they wondered who that other woman was. It was my stepmother. Anyway, so yeah, very interesting story there. The family that I have now met my wife and at a faculty meeting, and we were both teachers at the time. We've been married 22 years now. We have 2 kids, Anna, who is now 20 years old, and James, who is 16. So both are juniors, but one in high school, the other in college. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
you're welcome.
All right. So talking about child's unique gifts, and where we want to start is kind of in connection. So because we believe that you sort of determine, you find your child's gifts and triggers and currencies through connection. So how does a person connect with their child? And then why is this even important?
Well, connection is absolutely so important. And in order to connect with your child, I believe you need to build a relationship with them. And you need to build that relationship through understanding who they are, how they have been gifted by God, the talents that they have. And I do have a story where I thought I could shape the destiny of my child's life by not connecting. I know this sounds really weird, but what happened since my daughter was born, as a little child, I decided if my wife and I were going to live a life in private education, that retirement might be difficult for us.
Okay.
So yeah, I know this is weird. How does this relate to connecting with your child? So in infancy, once my daughter was born, holding her in my arms, I, through prayer, realized that my children actually, so this is true. I've heard from God that they would be our retirement. So I decided, once I felt like God had said this, that my daughter needed to be a dentist,
Okay.
so that we.
This was your ticket.
Yes, this was my ticket.
At the ripe old age of 3 days old?
Yes. I mean, yes. She didn't even have teeth, much less how to work on them. But I started telling her she was going to be a dentist, and this was going to be my retirement plan.
Of course.
And you're leading Eagle Ranch School.
So really the point of this is I did learn a lesson from this lie, and it's when I came to tell her the truth, but it covers many years. So in infancy, I'm telling her she's going to be a dentist when she grows up. She's going to be a dentist. So really, a couple of lessons here. Words have power.
Okay.
And you can brainwash people into thinking something, is what I discovered. I know this is crazy.
So she was on board, like, over the years? Like, she was like, yes, I'm going to be a dentist.
She becomes a toddler, and people begin to ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, oh, I want to be a mommy, or I want to be a fireman. My daughter started saying to people she wanted to be a dentist. And I'm like, yes, it's working. Then she goes through elementary school. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a dentist. She started asking for dental tools for play toys and stuff. It's crazy.
Mirror.
And she was always interested in teeth. And it was maybe in middle school. We get all the way up to middle school. And somebody one day says, so Anna, what do you want to be when you grow up? And very quickly, with confidence, she said, I'm going to be a dentist. And this lady looked at her and said, are there any dentists in your family? Is your mom or dad a dentist? No. Aunts or uncles a dentist? No. Oh, my first cousin's husband happens to be a dentist. Oh, did you get interested in dentistry that way? No, I've never really talked to him about it. And the lady said, so why do you want to be a dentist? And she said, I don't know why I want to be one, but I have always known I wanted to be a dentist. And the lady, I'm like, okay. Then hearing this conversation transpire, I began to feel a little bit guilty.
Right.
But I thought we were locked in.
Yeah.
She's saying it.
Yeah.
So after that lady left, I say, Anna, I need to tell you something. And I told her why she wanted to be a dentist, that basically I had brainwashed her.
Right.
She became so angry at me on the spot and right then and there said, "What? I am not going to be a dentist. I will never be a dentist. I'm not even interested in science." And I mean, my whole future was shattered right there. I'm like, "Oh no, you're my retirement plan." And there it goes. So anyway, this is a true story. But what I realized, I had ignored everything that my child was interested in for my own interest. I know I sound selfish and greedy, but I've come to terms with it, talked to her, I've talked to the Lord. We're all good. And what's interesting is that after that, she thought she might want to go into business and has since, after living here at the ranch for 1 year with my wife and I, has decided she wants to pursue a career in psychology. And now I can fully support that, understanding that just like me, she has a love for people. She has an interest in helping people and is now, learning how to do what she wants to do instead of what I brainwashed her into thinking she wanted.
So, that's a pretty intense example.
Right. It's
story.
pretty intense, yeah.
But do y'all find, with all the kids that you all see day in and day out, I mean, are you seeing that parents sort of have preconceived notions about their kids?
I think a lot of times they do. They want their kids to fit into a mold that they've created rather than the mold that God created.
Yeah, I definitely think that parents have expectations. I think it's hard not to have expectations for your kids. But when your kids don't necessarily fit the way that you expect them to, I think that's when the conflict arises.
Yeah.
So how do you work to draw out in a way that's maybe non-expectant? How do you sort of work to draw out in a child, like, hey, what do they like? What are their triggers? What kind of things sort of are their currency? Bring them sort of joy. How do you sort of begin to draw that out?
I think the best way to draw that out is first stop and just observe your children, see what they're doing, see what their interest is, and then they will feel seen by you, they will feel valued by you, and then they will be encouraged by you to do what they're interested in.
Yeah.
I think it's incredibly important, like you said, to be attuned to your kids. But then also, going a little bit deeper, like into the nervous system, we're always in a position of protection or connection. And I get this from one of my favorite authors, Robin Goebel.
Yeah.
She wrote a book called Kids with Big Baffling Behaviors, and I just love it.
You recommended it to me.
I recommended it to you.
Yes, and I read most of it.
But basically, she talks about your nervous system always being in connection or protection mode, and you're always scanning the room. Is this safe? Is this not safe? And can I connect, or do I need to protect myself? So part of that connection mode is that attunement, is that felt safety, which is felt safety is like what's happening internally for me, what's happening in my environment, and then also what's happening between us. Yeah. And so kids are always looking at that to see whether they can connect or not. Because if the answer is no, then it's protection mode, and then connection is broken.
And that's then blocking sort of their growth or their ability to even share with you, hey, this is how I feel, or this is like what I want to be when I grow up, or whatever.
Or receiving, both sides.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
So, like, in kids and families, like, what's the difference when you notice, like, oh, this family is connected, or maybe this family feels disconnected? Like, as you're doing some of your therapy work, like, when do you what are maybe the markers of, oh, this family looks like they really have a clear understanding and they're drawing out these gifts, or yikes, they're way off, way apart from each other?
So I think one of the biggest signs of disconnection is isolation. And ever since COVID, we've seen even more of that, and there's some comfort in isolation, because when you're alone, you do whatever you want to, and you don't have like the daily obstacle of like, how does this relationship work, or like, what are you thinking, what am I thinking? The little conflicts like that, you don't have to deal with them. So we get stuck in these places of comfort in isolation, and then before we know it, we realize like we are isolated and disconnected from each other, from the world, from whatever it may be. So I would say isolation would definitely be one for families who are more disconnected. And then for the families who are connected, they really lean into finding ways that, they can spend time together and like, how to communicate with each other and like how to work through conflicts, and then always coming back for the repair after the ruptures happen. And just being willing to continue to enter into, each other's space.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's a good point, because I think what's important is building structured time with family. And to go back to something you said earlier, Andy, triggers and currencies. When you have structured time with your family, you can see what each other's triggers are. You can find out what each other's currencies are. And when you speak into that, then children begin to feel valued by you. And then redirection is possible because there's a common trust there. So just knowing what your children's triggers are. And
one of you give me an example of a trigger in a kid and a currency in a kid.
I can. So James, my son, doesn't, well, I guess most children don't like to be corrected, but James
Or
in
adults.
particular, exactly. But in particularly, he doesn't like to be shamed. So
I don't either, by the way.
right. So any public correction would really trigger him. Whereas maybe nobody, like you say, nobody likes to be shamed, nobody likes to be embarrassed, but you could, in a crowd with one child, maybe Anna, just say her name, give her the look, and she's okay. If James feels like all eyes are on him, his roof is going to blow off the top.
Gotcha.
So for him, it's knowing that shame is triggering, and you go to him and you say, "Hey, James, come here," and you pull him aside out of earshot of others and say, "I noticed you were doing this, and people were distracted because you're being too loud," or whatever the thing is. And you just tell him quietly, but also explain the why behind it. And then he can choose to redirect that thinking, which typically that works if it's done privately. So that's one example of a trigger.
Yeah.
And what's currency? What is that?
Yeah. So currency is figuring out what motivates your kid.
Okay.
And triggers and currencies are both, back to that word that you said earlier, attunement, being aware of what motivates them, what are the things that they love. And then, so some of those things could be like 5 love languages. How did they receive love? What's their favorite food? What are their favorite sports? What are their hobbies? What are they interested in? And you don't necessarily have to be interested in the same thing, but just care and tune in.
Yeah.
Just like people are tuning into the podcast, tune into your kids.
That's right.
This, we're talking like this seems so obvious, but it's not. And I don't want to get off on a tangent, but I think we do see a lot of families these days that are disconnected.
Right. Well, it goes back to my situation. I was determined, without realizing it, not to be connected to my child when I was telling Anna what she wanted to be and shaping her thought. But when I realized we were missing the structure with our children and our family, and building that time together and really discovering what her interests are, that's really when the relationship began.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was in the 8th grade. Good thing for James, he's 4.5 years younger. So,
all right. So you've talked about connectedness. So how do you build that? Like, what are some, maybe you could call them rhythms, practices of connection that a family who says, well, I want to be connected. I want to be in connection, not protection. Like, what are some rhythms that you could put into your life?
Yeah. So I love calling it rhythms of connection because, to create a daily habit of like leaning in or like a weekly habit. And I always recommend to people to start with a family dinner. No phones, no media, no devices. Like just spend time with each other, getting to know each other again. There's this exercise called the Rosebud, Thorn. And you ask them, the rose, like, what was the best part of your day? The bud, what are your hopes? And then the thorn, what was something bad that happened today? And that gives you, a starting point to talking at dinner, like sharing food, sharing a meal. That's time together, attunement. That's like a rhythm that you can continue to do. So something that works with your schedule, something that works with your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then even something they enjoy, right? If you're like, hey, we are going to eat pizza. And they're like, I don't even like pizza. Like, it's a family pizza night.
And we're going to talk about our feelings.
Yeah, that's great.
No, but I love the idea, like, you can't just skip right to connection. You have to put some things in place,
That's right.
that structure to then allow for connection to happen. And I guess to be patient too, like, we're going to sit down and we're going to have a good time and we're all going to, love each other.
Yeah. And my wife Jeannie was so much smarter than me because she did
Amen.
start.
I know, Jeannie. This is true.
So she did start with the structure, and she made it, we must have dinner every night. So as a family, we have dinner every night to this day. Anna's in college now, but when she's home, we're going to have dinner together regardless. And sometimes with Anna's volleyball, we were, going here, there, we would have dinner together in the car, but we were going to have dinner together. But before high school, before volleyball, we did have structured time too. After dinner, like Monday was movie night. Tuesday was something we always called ball in the hall, but you get Nerf balls and just throw them at the person in the middle. And if they catch it, they come out, and whoever threw it, they go in. So anyway,
You played this as a family.
ball in the hall, Tuesday night. Yep.
Tuesday night, ball in the hall.
Until that was through elementary school. After that, we quit ball in the hall. I don't remember what we replaced it with, but Wednesday was church. Thursday was family game night. Yeah. So
Man, so that was like a daily rhythm of different.
It
Where you
was,
hear about
yeah.
like Taco Tuesdays or just
Right,
anything
right,
to, like you say, to start building some routine. And I guess it's important to say, like, routine apart from screens.
That's exactly right. And the games allowed us to see how our kids would react really under pressure and help them build resilience. But then that's when you actually see the triggers and the currencies come out, Yeah.
For sure.
Well, so because part of it is we're trying to help parents, like we want to discover our kids, but what kind of prevents us from being connected as we think about our own parenting journeys? What are some factors that might prevent us from being in that space?
Well, I think Jennifer already said it with screens.
Yeah.
That's the biggest one. But then work schedules too. Yeah.
I think just general busyness,
That's right.
like just being too busy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and like going back to that protection mode, I always like to kind of dig into people's family histories. I mean, that's what I do as a counselor, right?
Right.
But like we started on the podcast, like what are the family patterns? And like, did your dad show up for you? Did your mom show up for you? Like, how did family time look like growing up? And so for families who were connected growing up, sometimes it's easier to just like move into that rhythm of connection. But for families who don't have that experience as a child, it's harder to create something new and start a pattern, a new pattern. And then, there's conflict. And then why do we avoid conflict? And then is there broken trust? Do I trust walking into my room or into someone's room and saying like, hey, do you want to hang out? Like fear of rejection. Like what if they're like, no, I don't want to, like that might deter a parent from going and seeking out connection. And then there's just so many different things. Like, even with like adoption, there's so many elements that come with like potentially reactive attachment or like trauma, hurt, loss. Like you're navigating all of these hurdles and and then also in the background, it's like, this should be easy. but it's not.
It's not.
And so then you
Or automatic. It should be
Yeah. Right.
automatic.
It takes a conscientious effort.
and then you get in a pattern of like shaming yourself, and then you're like, well, why even bother? But then, showing self-compassion to yourself and like, yeah, this is hard and I'm going to lean into it anyways.
It's so interesting you said about like the rejection, because you think as a parent, like, I'm the parent, I'm supposed to be, stable. But I can especially speak from like on the divorce side, and like, your child is like going to the other parent's house and coming back there, you get really sort of uncertain, or, I want to make sure my kid's having fun, or so to just be self-aware and be like, that's not what's best for them. And I
those
need to address
situations-
some of my insecurities.
Right. And those situations in a divorce situation makes it easier to create blind triangles. That's why divorced parents really need to come together in the raising of their children. And I think that's one of the things that we do well at the ranch, is bring that out and helping them navigate that.
I do think I'm having a moment here of like, as an adoptive parent, part of the reason I know about this book is because I was having a hard time, and Jennifer said, you should read this book. It's what I tell parents when they have kids with big baffling behaviors, that the behavior is telling us something about kind of where the kid is. And Robin Goebel does such a good job of pointing us to connection. And it's not easy. Like, it's just hard. How do you connect with somebody who doesn't want to connect with
Who's
you?
actively rejecting you. And fighting
Actively
you.
rejecting you almost every day. So that reality is really challenging. And I don't have like a great answer for folks, right? Except for to stay in it, and to continue to fight for connection, and to hope to kind of break through, if you will, in the life of your kid, and to get into a connected mode. And
I think we talk about this in so many of our episodes, but this idea of doing it in community.
That's
So
right.
when you are like, because it's easy, like, I'm the only person dealing with this, or what's wrong with me, and to be able to talk to other adoptive parents, or just parents in general, and be like, no, man, hang in there. A breakthrough is around the corner, and you're just
not.
Or not.
Like, that sounds what that, like, breakthrough might not be around the corner. One of the things that's been helpful for me in getting with adoptive parents is a little bit of like, we're in this together, and it may not get better. And that, it's a hard reality, but it's one that we walk. And then that's where it's sort of the truth of the gospel, and like, God is with us even if it doesn't repair. I was at a conference last week with a lot of adopted parents, and it was it's like, these are my people, because we tell stories and we laugh, and it's like almost dark humor, but like,
Kind of has to be though.
it almost has to be, because we do long for some of that connection that may not come.
Yeah.
That's right.
Or look the way that you want it to.
Yeah.
Well, and we don't want to get too deep in here, because every parent, especially I think every adopted parent, has an expectation of, I'm going to take this child in, and they're going to say, thank you so much for your work. And instead, you get the double middle finger, and you're like, wait, what? But I rescued you. And that's me.
This whole conversation just makes me think about something we say here at the ranch, about the kids that we serve, but it really is true in our own lives too. It's, we are to sow good seeds and pray for the harvest.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think that's always been helpful to me, because it's like, instead of focusing so much on the outcome that I want, it's like, am I sowing good seed? What is a good seed I can sow today? And it really doesn't matter what they do.
Right.
Right.
And then we're praying
they
for
have
the
their
harvest.
choices just like we do.
Yeah. So
And I think, once you've sown the good seeds, you also, I think Andy hit on something so very important, and that's community, because it may not turn out the way you think it should. It may not turn out the way you hope it should. But if you have a community to fall back on to support you, I think that's really
courage.
Key to it. Yep.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest tools we have here is the parent group, and the fact that they can kind of lean on each other for support, and just look around the room and say, like, I'm not alone in parenting, and it's really hard.
Yeah.
Well, I hate this, but we just got like the hand signal
Right, yeah.
that we're out of time
Thanks so much,
already.
Christine.
So, thank y'all truly for the work. I mean, you guys are in it every day with lots of kids,
Right.
lots of families, and then even navigating our own lives.
That's right.
So,
Well, you're welcome. I
yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank y'all. I want to thank everyone who tuned in today, and we do hope this episode was encouraging to you and gave you some valuable insights you can use. Want to invite you to tune in next week for stories from parents like you to hear their hard lessons learned and insights they wish they had known going through parenting as well.
Yeah, let us know if you enjoyed this episode by leaving us a review on Apple or Spotify. It helps other parents find the show, and mention it to other parents as well. So feel free to connect with us, Facebook, Instagram. Let us know what topics and questions you want to listen to. Thanks again for listening. Dr. Ace, Jennifer, thank you guys so much
you
for
for
being
having
here.
us.
It's been a wonderful time. We appreciate you all. Have a wonderful week.